Hello, my name is Zach Rye with Old Man Gaming. Welcome to the show. Oregon Trail. It's been remade for Nintendo Switch. It is a very interesting remake, taking a lot of the source stuff and kind of revamping it for the modern era. A lot of cool replayability. They've added a lot of different functionalities to it. But is it perfect? Is it not? There can always be additions. So I put out to the community what they'd like to see in this game going forward, or added to it, or maybe in the sequel. So get ready, folks. This is 5 things we want to see in the Oregon Trail, specifically the Nintendo Switch version. A couple of quick disclaimers. Number 1, like I said, I farmed my own community for this, so I will try and give them credit as I go through the list. Number 2, the list itself is not a countdown. None of these are more important than the other ones. They're just things that I thought were interesting that we want to see added. The Oregon Trail is a very interesting rework of the game. You're seeing it through footage on the screen now, where you kind of have to manage your wagon, manage your inventory while your party moves across the trail trying to get out west to set up their new homes. Very interesting game. They added a lot of replayability to it, a lot of different aspects to it that's really interesting and cool, but of course we want to see some cool new things. So let's get into it. Number 1 comes from my lovely wife, Melissa. She, of course, has been playing it on Prelude to Divorce with me and has become rather obsessed with it. And what she would like to see right off the bat is more character models. And I've got to second this. When you start playing this game, there are these like every character is just a model on the screen, just a small model. But there's really only like 10 or 12, even when you start unlocking new character classes, those end up unlocking new models to be added to the game. It's still, you see the same characters over and over and over again. They don't even have like different colors. You'll see like the same girl in pink skirt as you see in girl in pink skirt. Often girl in pink skirt is talking to girl in pink skirt. It's a little obnoxious, and I have to agree with my wife. I would love some more character models, especially with how easy this would be to add to the game. It's just a couple more drawings, a couple more sprites. So I'd love to see some more character models, and I'm completely in agreement with my wife. You really, your eyes get a little bored with the character models that you see over and over and over and over and over again. All right. So that was a quick and easy one. This might be a quick and easy episode. I don't know. We'll have to see. But number 2 is a character skill rework. This one we got to go in a little bit depth on. So the way this game works is when you decide to start a party, you procedurally generate. What it'll do is it'll procedurally generate 3 characters. You get to pick one. Then it procedurally generates another 3 characters. You pick one. And you do this until you have 4 characters in your party. That's your 4-character party. You can't add any characters. You can't lose any characters. You can't change any characters along the way. If they all die, you have obviously failed your journey. When it generates them, though, it generates their skills, but you don't get to see them. You actually have to either use them through the world events that you run into and just kind of like blindly jump in, or you have to kind of hit campfires and tell stories, which allows the characters to get to know each other, which allows you to then know their skills a little bit more. The only thing you can actually see is 2 traits, like hedonistic and religious, or greedy and compulsive, or whatever. These 2 traits come with every character. You also get to see what they are: a missionary, a banker, a farmer, that sort of thing. But here's the problem, folks. You're probably thinking to yourself, this would be really cool, because once you're out there, you have to kind of use the context clues, like, hey, such and such is a farmer who is also greedy, so he might be witty, or he also might have some good shooting ability because he's a farmer. This stuff just doesn't translate. The traits themselves don't actually translate into the skills. What they'll do is they'll pop up in world events and affect those world events in either positive or negative ways every so often. But they don't actually translate into the skills or how the skills are added. while I have noted that the bankers tend to have more wits than other people, oftentimes you're thinking a farmer would know this, and then the farmer doesn't know this. So with that being said, I think they need to take a look at their skills, how those skills are worked, and kind of rework that so that you can know it. Jackie Rakes submitted this one, as well as my wife Melissa. They submitted it for very different reasons, though. Jackie Rakes has been a longtime fan of Prelude to Divorce. Jackie, if you're watching, I see you, and I thank you very much. My wife specifically would have liked more the context clues to be more correct, whereas Jackie kind of wanted more character creation. I think we should find a simple medium here. I think, first of all, they should take a look at the skills and be like, hey, farmers are procedurally generating a little off, or whatever. We should have them procedurally generate a little bit closer to what a farmer actually is. And I think also you should be allowed to know one of the major skills that your character has from the procedural generation. So, like, if such and such Jesse shows his 2 traits, but it also shows that he has a composure of 4, something like that. I think that would help alleviate that as well, but either way, I think they need to rework it just a tad. It's still a really fun game. I understand why they don't want to kind of reveal all the skills at once, mainly because part of the game is figuring out what these people can do during the course of things, but the fun is figuring it out through context, and oftentimes the context is wrong. All right, this next one is a Jackie exclusive. Jackie, thank you very much for the interaction. I'm going to say right now, she wants to see selling unused items at stores. Okay, so the way the game works right now is you can get money to buy stuff at stores through selling pelts, through selling fish, across the course of your trip, and then other little things that you'll gain money for here and there. But if you get to an area or a store and you have a ton of extra stuff, you can't sell it at the local store. Now, I understand kind of why they did this. They did this so that it puts this emphasis on trading, and it makes it so that it's not always going to be readily available what you want or what you're trying to get. That being said, I think that there is something to be said about you being able to sell some of these goods to a store that doesn't have them. And they already have worked into the game that the store itself procedurally generates what it has at the time of when you get to it. Because I've arrived at stores that have plenty of meat. I've arrived at stores that are out of stock of meat. Same with other items. I think that if a store is particularly out of something, it should allow you to sell some of that to it. You would still have that kind of, I don't know if I'm going to get what I need out of this sort of feel to it, but at the same time, you're able to make some money based on what they do or do not have. So you still have that feeling that you had before of, I need to find the thing to survive, but at the same time, it'll allow you a little bit more realism there. I mean, because let's face it, if you rolled into a town with 40 pelts in your wagon and they don't have any pelts, they're going to buy the pelts from you. I mean, realistically, they're only going to have so much money. They're only going to be able to trade so much for you, which I understand. But at the same time, they're going to want it. Do I think that you should be able to roll into a city and just cash in everything you don't need right off the bat? No, I don't think so, because then you would be able to really game the system on money. And I don't like that. I like the fact that this game really makes you feel the decisions of what you're trading for, what you're purchasing, when you're purchasing it, and when you're trading for it. But there still needs to be a little bit more realistic leeway there, so I feel like this would be a good way to work that around. All right, the next two are a little bit wishful thinking, pie in the sky stuff that may or may not ever come, but I feel the requirement to say them, and they're both directly from me, verbatim. So the next thing I'd like to see, number 4, is adding characters to your party throughout the game via events. Right now, as it stands, you get 4 characters. You got to keep those 4 characters alive. If they all die, you're done, and that's just that. I think it would be really, really, really cool if they added some events that allowed you to potentially pick up stragglers, put them into your group. Maybe even pets would be a great one. There's even an event in the game where you meet a stray dog, and you kind of pet the dog, and then the dog goes on its way. It would be even cooler if the dog joined you and then could help you, fight off certain events. There's an event where, like, a coyote gets into the back of your wagon and steals some food. The dog could counter that. It might help you during hunting. I think that, like, that would be really cool. In addition to that, having, like, extra characters that you could just find along the way and bring them into your group, I think would be really, really cool. Obviously, I understand that it's kind of balanced to try and make it with those 4 characters, so adding characters along the way would kind of ensure you potentially get to that end. So I'm not quite sure how they would do the balancing on that, but I'd love the idea that the group could grow or shrink depending on things. I even think that to balance it, you could add in different events where your characters, given the right circumstances, decide to leave the wagon train when getting to a certain town or fort. Like, this is as far as I need to go. I've found what I'm looking for. I'm going to stay here. I think that would be really cool because then you could, like, shift out another character that you find along the way and keep kind of a weird train going. I think that that would be a really interesting way to kind of break up the monotony of the game. As much as I enjoy this game, I really like it. There is a certain level of monotony to it where you get, especially on the long legs like the Oregon Trail itself, where you're doing 5 legs, which is like a bunch of hours. You really get used to those 4 characters. Those are all you see. You get to a point, and the terrain changes, the events kind of change, but you get to a point where you're like, I know these people. There's nothing else new to explore there, and I think you get a little tedium, a little monotony towards the end of the long legs. Not insulting the game, I still like it. I think that this would allow it to break it up. Just give us some new characters thrown in there every so often, or throw us a curveball with one of our characters being like, I can't go any further. Maybe somebody who's broken their leg 3 times and is like, I'm just going to live here now. Like, stuff like that would be really cool, really interesting. Of course, it would give you a choice, like, do you want to give up Grace or Jesse here and let them stay, or do you say, hey, you got to keep coming with us and helping us, and almost like an Animal Crossing thing where you get that final choice of whether they leave or not, but still it pops up. So I think that would be really cool. Number 4, I think it would be, really cool for character... I guess character recruitment events would be the best way to describe it. And then finally, number 5, another one that's pie in the sky, me alone, kind of crazy, but I want Wagon Train multiplayer. Okay, so the way it works right now is there is some multiplayer thing, but it's mostly like leaderboards and challenges and stuff. It's not really... There's no real active multiplayer in the game, which I understand. So this might be completely impossible for how they've set up the game. But Gameloft is notoriously a mobile developer with a lot of weird, like, mobile server-based games. So I don't understand why we couldn't do this. But who knows? Who knows? What I'd like to see is I get to party up with my friend, okay, online, and we both get to travel together. And then we get to, like, kind of vote on the decisions. We get 2 parties. You probably have to come up with some new legs for balancing for this, just because it's not really balanced for the 4 players. But we can actually, like, try and survive together throughout the trail and even, like, pass stuff between the 2 of us. You could set up even more kind of dangerous events when you're doing that. That could really, like, throw the characters for a loop. I think that would be a really cool multiplayer like idea, and I think that it would be a really cool way of doing it on Nintendo, where you don't necessarily have the best infrastructure for multiplayer. You wouldn't really need to talk to each other so much. I think that it would be a really cool way to play with somebody else. But yeah, so that's it. That's our 5 things we want to see in the Oregon Trail for Nintendo Switch. And did we get it right? Is there anything we missed that you'd like to comment below? Feel free. Love to hear from you guys. And then this is probably our last 5 things series for a little while. We'll come back when we get some more games in there. But I do want to send a special thanks out to Jackie Rakes and my wife, Melissa, who answered the call as to what we wanted to see in the game. So thank you to you both. And then, as usual, anybody who wants to reach me can reach me on Facebook at OmanGamingDH, on Twitter at OmanGaming9. You can join our Discord. Link is in the description below. Influence this and all of our shows from there. As long as you keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys in the next one.